I'm Natalia. Welcome to my channel and welcome to what I'm hoping is going to be an incredible magical story. It is at least an incredible magical story for me. And I've been thinking about whether I want to share this with all of you because part of me really wants to share it because as you will find out, it's, in my opinion, really, really amazing. And then a part of me also did not want to share because I thought, I don't know what I thought. But then I spent some time thinking about it and I realized that one, we live in a world where we all certainly not only need, but in a dire um, necessity of connecting to magic. I feel that a lot of us are gravitating towards spirituality, such as magical craft or spiritual tools such as tarot, because we want something beyond what we perceive as mundane. We want to believe that there is something more to our lives. I think a lot of us want to help ourselves return to those magical aspects of ourselves we possessed when we were children. And I think more than ever, especially today, with the way the world is, and all of the horrors and horrific hatred, crimes, wars that are taking place in the world, it's very easy to become jaded. I don't know about you. I found myself just recently jaded um, reading a particular book. And it got me thinking, why bother even creating videos where I'm talking about my experiences or my relationship to tarot? It all seems so inconsequential in contrast to everything that is going on in the world. And yet it is not. That's the essential nutrients we all need. We all need storytelling that are uplifting and positive and nurtures our magical soul. Because I believe that magic belongs to everybody. And I believe that everybody is capable of engaging with magic. And I think what happens is that we get so blocked out, we create so many filters, byproduct of our social conditioning, byproduct of what the world tells us, that those things, those filters become blockages, they become obstacles on a way toward our relationship with magic. For me, I have spent and continue to spend tremendous amount of time trying to unlearn, trying to chip away at those obstacles, chip away at those walls that I have created as a byproduct of my life. I try very hard to chip away at overly analytical, overly need to know for a fact what is happening mindset in order to even commune with spirits, in order to even step into relationship with everything and anything around me. So this is why I'll be telling you the story because I think the story is beautiful. And I think that sometimes some of us lose that thread. I don't want to say hope. I don't think anybody ever loses hope in magic. I think what we lose is that thread, the connection to the thread that unites us to the magic. Or sometimes we're doing things, we want to connect to magic, and we feel like nothing magical is happening, and we feel like we want to give up. And so I hope the story is also going to be um, this beautiful nudge to those of you who are in that place. If you have been following me, you have already seen my discussion about me leaning back into trying to learn and read more about shamanism, because not only are some of my roots go back to Central Asia, I'm from Uzbekistan, and not only part of my blood lineage is Tatar, which descends from Mongolian Empire. Not only do I go back to that proximity to, in the very least, to shamans in Mongolia, but I also have had this breadcrumbs where things kept falling back and falling back and falling back. And I've done a video talking about, I'll link it below. I also done a video reading this book, there's 3 books in a series. I just started book number 2. this number one, I will recommend to any practitioner of any magical acts, because the things she covers in here, practicing discernment, cleansing, and she has the best, absolutely best portion of the book on um, how to step into communication and how to honor your ancestors that I have ever seen written. So I recommend, regardless, shaman is more like an umbrella term here, whatever your craft is. And I'll link that video that I were talked about this book below. But it's those of you who are watching this don't know, in my spiritual craft, the only deity or titan that ever made sense to me that I gravitated towards was Hecate, and I still work with Hecate. And shamanism, apart from reading traditional craft, chaos magic, ritual magic, you name it. I've just finished reading some of the hoodoo practices. No matter what I have read and accumulated in terms of information, shamanism, in a sense of how it is presented, seems to make the most sense to me. And so I kept gravitating toward it. So this story is going to be about, it's going to illustrate how when we open up to magic, magic always opens up to us, and how it will start what I call golden breadcrumbs. It starts to drizzle your path with golden breadcrumbs for you to follow that ultimately leads you exactly where you need to be. It's the same with the phrase, when you're ready, the teacher is going to appear. When you open up to magic, magic appears in your life, and it magnifies and magnifies, and it gives you exactly what you need, and it helps you get on a path you need to get on. So I have been throwing these breadcrumbs for now probably about 10 years. Let me get a sip of water. For about 10 years now. The first breadcrumb was easy. Following my lineage and my interest in shamanism, and many years ago, I purchased a drum. Actually, I guess commissioned a drum with an oval handle because I love owls, by a Russian drum maker who resides in Siberia. I can't say I use the drum, but I have a drum. So this was, I would say, one of the biggest breadcrumbs that I got many years ago. Having this conversation with my dear friend Kasia, she reminded me of another breadcrumb that I not decided, but it's important to include in the story. Somewhere, I think she said it was in 2018, Kasia creates beautiful magical wands. And back then, I think it was even before we became friends, I purchased quite a few of her wands because I love the spirit and the soul in her creations, and I really love working with them. And in, May 21st, so we're circling back to May 2018, I purchased this wand from her that she reminded me today was called, she named it Shamanka. Shamanka is certainly in Russian, and Russian Polish tend to have similarities and overlap. But in Russian, if we were to refer to shaman, would be a masculine. If we were to refer to a female practitioner of shamanism, it would be shamanka. And I've forgotten the name of this wand. I have this wand. It's gorgeous, gorgeous wand. So this was another breadcrumb that I just realized as I sat down to film the story. Now, when I was making a video sharing with all of you how I'm going back to this breadcrumb of shamanism, and how I just can't deny that I am keep gravitating, there's a pulse there that I strongly feel. I shared with all of you also how, for me, when I think about shamans, the image that comes to mind is the image of shamans that I have. My husband just got home. I can hear his footsteps. That's why I wanted to see if it is in fact him, is the car spark. That the image of the shaman that comes to mind is not the depiction of Native American individuals practicing shamanism, but people from Central Asia. Because in Uzbekistan, I grew up seeing those people, and they often wear very bright, distinct primary colors, blue and reds. And I think I even shared it would be something like this. They tend to wear a brass mirror or bronze mirror to deflect negative spirits around their neck. And when I shared about it in that video, I don't remember if I shared it in a video. I may have not. But at some point, when I got back into reading about shamanism, I thought about commissioning from Hagrid, from whom I got a lot of magical tools, and this was a custom doll she made for me for working with Hecate. I thought of reaching out to Hagrid and asking her to create me a shamanic doll for my working with the ancestors in those bright colors. But somehow something prevented me from reaching out. I just decided intuitively not to. Well, one of the viewers, amazing viewers, who watched that other video, also had a deck, an oracle deck that I was interested in. And they reached out to me, offering it to me. And I offered some other decks for trade. And so we had a nice, beautiful trade. Well, unbeknown to me, that viewer, and I hope if you're watching this, it is okay that I'm sharing this that you have made this for me, has sent me this gorgeous, you can see the face, but it's a face, it's a beautiful Syrian face doll. When I opened the box, I gasped because I've been wanting a doll to with my work with ancestors. And as you can see, this person beautifully crafted her in the primary colors and even has a gold bronze mirror in resemblance to Mongolian shamans. So this was another huge breadcrumb that happened to me very, very recently. When all of this happened, I thought, well, all right, so it seems like I just might be on the right path. Perhaps this is magic. And I feel like when we open up to any magical craft, no matter what it is, because in the past, I have another story which I will share later about traditional old craft. I feel like no matter what type of modality we're going to gravitate to, it's still going to open doors for us, and it's still going to leave breadcrumbs, because I strongly believe that magic wants to step into relationship with us. Everything that is beyond the world we perceive wants to be in relation with us, because they're witnessing how badly our world is suffering, and they want to help us better ourselves so we can help better the world, because it's a collective thing. Nobody exists solo. So, and yet sometimes I think when not only are you stepping in a particular magic, but also when that's even more in alignment with perhaps your lineage or who you are or any other aspects of you, I feel like you will get even more of a gravitational pull. And this story is about perhaps even more gravitational pull, at least from what has happened recently. A few weeks ago, my husband and I went to New York to house sit, dog sit, and babysit my soon-to-be 10-year-old niece and my goddaughter, Mila, because my sister and her husband went abroad for the first time to celebrate they never celebrate their honeymoon, so they went abroad to celebrate their honeymoon. And we were there for 11 days. My sister has a house in Queens under Rockaways, far Rockaways, and her house is built right across from the boardwalk, so right across from the ocean. My beautiful, adorable niece, Mila, loves to go to the ocean, and she loves to go treasure hunting, meaning she loves to walk on the shore and look and see what she finds. And she has this gorgeous, humongous big shells she found, this beautiful bones she has collected, just amazing stuff. Well, I love treasure hunt too. Who doesn't? So one day, David and I went treasure hunting with her. And among treasure hunting, I found some lovely, gorgeous things like the shell. And then I found this beautiful shell and concrete. Oh, you can't see. Fossil. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I also found this. See if the camera is going to pick it up. Do you guys see this? It's unique because right here it has almost that almost looks like stropolis in a way, like you cut in stropolis. It's bizarre. Ah, I wish camera would pick up. You can see some ridges there. So I picked up this, and when I picked this up, and it's heavy, my husband thought that this was petrified wood. And he was so amazed. He's like, this is a really gorgeous piece of petrified wood. What the heck? So we brought it back home. And David, being a geek that he's, started looking into it. And he said, no, based on the weight and density, this is too heavy to be petrified wood. And it's too light to be a rock. Then he calculated based on the size, the weight, and he figured it out that the density of this is identical to ivory. And so now we're dealing with ivory, which is not that common. So David thought that this was mammoth tusk. Now, when he told me this might be a mammoth tusk, I thought he was fucking losing his balls. I said, there's no way. You're losing your marbles. I just said losing his balls and losing his marbles. I thought there's no way this could be a mammoth tusk. Are you fucking crazy? And yet I kept thinking, is it possible that I found mammoth tusk? And something nudged me even further to go into Google and to Google, what does it mean? What does mammoth as a guardian spirit, as a guardian animal represent? And in Google, I got this. The mammoth is a guardian spirit or Solhut ivy, which is a name for it, in some northeastern Siberian traditions. Listen to this. I can't believe this. Solhut ivy means the mammoth's shadow. The spirit of a mammoth can appear as a guardian spirit of some shamans, and a shaman assisted by the mammoth spirit is considered the most powerful. Now, I'm not, let's be clear, I'm not studying to be a shaman. I read enough to understand that one has to be initiated into it. I am studying enough to practice aspects of shamanism. So I don't really consider myself powerful shaman or planning to be. But I do think, and I did thought at the time when I got the goosebumps, that what a coincidence. What is the breadcrumbs am I getting here? I just got back into studying shamanism. I found this that David thinks is mammoth tusk. And this is, according to history, is in northeastern Siberia considered by shamans to be a spirit guide for individuals who are, I would assume, shamans or practicing, those who practice shamanism. What an amazing connection. And so I've been itching. I told David, how can we confirm what it is? Because I'm itching. Is it now? This story is getting so fascinating. So David and I found in here in California. Let me get it for you guys. It gets so much better, unbelievable. I sitting here telling you I can't believe this happened at the University of California in Berkeley. We found she's the senior museum scientist of paleontology. She has a PhD in paleontology, and we emailed this individual photographs, weight, all of the description of this, asking her, is this mammoth tusk? Day goes on, second day, third day. By third day, I was telling David, you have got to email this to other paleontologists. I got to find out what the heck is this? Is it possible? Is it possible that not only have I found a piece of mammoth, but this amazing, ancient, ginormous spirit is coming forward to work with me right now as I am embarking on my journey toward getting more into the practice of shamanism. Yesterday, we got an email from Dr. Holroyd, and she writes, Dear David, I think this is too small for a task. But what you may have is a portion of mammoth tooth root. The stripes you're seeing are incremental growth lines of a single tooth root. The rounded end was probably originally tapered, but has worn off being in the water and sand. The open end would have attached to the crown of the tooth, and the whole thing would have fit in the tooth socket, along with several other roots. You can see a nice example showing the growth lines on the specimen from Big Bone Lake in Kentucky, and she sent the link. The large root on the right-hand side is in this image is probably around the size and shape of the one you have. And she sent us this link to an image to the one that they found in Kentucky, and it almost looks identical. What are the odds? Well, my scientific mind, of course, refuses, even though I try to find explanation for everything, has long stopped looking for facts, has long stopped looking, especially when it comes to magic, for those things. And it stopped looking for those things because sure, there's coincidences. And then there's things like this. There's things like this. There's things like this. There's things like this that happen to you that accumulate over the time that not only all tell you you are on the right path, but they all magically nudge you in the right direction. And they all help us to feel connected, one, to something greater than us. I was in New York and I picked up for David because he's a fan of Salman Rushdie. He read mostly all of his book. I read his latest autobiography called Knife. As you know, many of you may know, Salman was had an attempted murder on him um, because of the books that he wrote many years ago, Satanic Verses. As you know, he has a fatwa on his head. And so he survived, he made it, he's doing really well. So he wrote this book called Knife Meditations After an Attempted Murder. And in New York, while I was in New York, and after I found this, and on a plane, I finished reading this book. And I kept thinking, the reason why I kept thinking is because this book right here is Salman meditating on how things happened, his feelings, trying to make sense of the event. What's fascinating about the story that was so incredibly annoying to me is that Salman shares in a book how a night before he had a dream where he was stabbed. I believe it was in like in Gladiator Arena, similar to amphitheater, where actually stabbing took place. And he had a feeling he did not want to go. In other words, he had a dream, had a premonition. His psyche, his unconscious was telling him something is about to happen, don't go. He makes a ton of synchronistic connections throughout the book. He was stabbed for 27 seconds, 27 knife wounds. There's a lot of other synchronicities to the knives. There's a lot of other synchronicities around the event. And yet, not once, this writer, who apparently writes magical kind of realism stories, who is a fantastical writer, never once contemplates the nature of the mysterious, the magical, the otherworldly, that there is something in here in life beyond us. In fact, he continues to hold on the stance in the books that he doesn't believe in God, which one can argue perhaps he's talking about more organized religion. But he also makes a point talking about how he believes that the soul is mortal. Our soul is just mortal. It dies here with us. And it baffles me is that all the synchronicities happen to this man. And he doesn't see the magic in it. And it got me so sad. And it got me feeling so jaded about the world, really, apart from the fact that the person who stabbed him without knowing anything about him, without even reading his book or understanding his book. It got me thinking about how the world is so reactive. And these days, people are so easily brainwashed to hate versus love. That's what really got me jaded. But I was so saddened by Salman's not going there into that magical, beautiful realm. Sure, you may believe that God doesn't exist, but what about your dream? Where do the dreams come from? Which part of you was trying to, how is that part of you new? Where does all of this derive from? This is the difference between me and perhaps Salman, is that I am open and receptive to the magical. And we all have to be, because when we're receptive, this type of things happen to us. David told me, um, I'm not surprised you found it. And I said, why not? He said, because you're so open to magic. You are so open to synchronicities. He said, you, even though you're so scientific and so analytical, I have like sand falling from this. He said, you're still by far and large, um, see magical connectivities everywhere. And I have chosen to see magical connectivities everywhere a long time when I was diagnosed with cancer. People ask me, um, why do you believe in tarot cards? How do you know that they really work? How do you know that they actually do tell you what is going to happen? I don't know. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care to know. And the reason why I don't care to know is because they make my life magical and beautiful and playful and that much more juicier and more mysterious. And you know what? I would choose mysterious life over mundane and logical and fact-based one any time of the day. So if this wasn't, there was another thread. Oh my God, I'm losing it now. What was another thread? Let me look it up if there was something else I wanted to share about this. I swear to God, I think there was. Maybe not. Maybe this is it. So I came back home with this. Oh yes, there was something. I'm coming back. So I came home with this, and yesterday I did a reading with this where I have asked, what brought you into my life, what message you have for me. It was a beautiful reading that pretty much said that I'm here as as a guardian spirit to work with you and to part some wisdom with you. Um, and I think this is just a surreal and beautiful thing to happen. This is what I was going to share. I said earlier that I believe that when we're open to magic, the breadcrumbs are going to start showing up. It's going to start, magic is going to be open for us because it wants to be open for us. And I don't think there is any type of magical craft, even if it's not in alignment with you, lineage or whatnot, that is going to be close to anybody. I think some are just going to, like I said, amplify and gravitate and pull you more because there's connection there. Others may be less, but they're still going to be open to you. And the reason why I know this is because many years ago, I was reading a lot about traditional old craft, especially British type of old craft. And I was really trying to see if there's connection there for me. And I remember very vividly, I was accumulating tools to work the will. And one of the tools was a stag. And I wanted a stag that divides into two horns. And I couldn't find one. And I was thinking about maybe purchasing one on the internet. These days you can find and buy anything on the internet. Something prevented me from buying it on the internet, just like something prevented me from commissioning the doll. I had a dream. And I had a dream where I found a stag. The next day, I wake up, and David and I, and back then my dog Freud, go for a walk in LA in urban neighborhood. And in between the alleyways of two houses, I find leftover pieces of branches from cut tree. And one of them is this huge, huge stag from ash tree of all the trees that at the top divides at the crossroads. True story. I carry that. I have it right here in the corner of my room. I'll twist the camera and show you. If some of you get nauseous, I apologize, but let me try to do this. Okay, do you see this wood, the tall wood one that has a bat hanging from it? That's the one. Sorry, somebody got sick. That's what I found many years ago. It found me, it came to me because that's what I needed for my magical work at the time. So even though right now I don't use it, I haven't used it, it doesn't call me, doesn't resonate with me, I keep it because there's that connectivity of the magic. So this is a story to illustrate that even though you will lean toward particular magical craft and it may turn out to be not for you, the door is still going to open up for you. And I think sometimes we have this blinders, this filtered blinders on that prevents us from really seeing and really connecting those breadcrumbs. And maybe Salman also has his blinders on for not seeing the magic and the synchronicity in what transpired, and that there's something more to the world than just our mortality and our mortal soul. And I think for me, the type of thinking is very, very hollow um, and very disconnected from the rest of the world. And I choose and demand to live in a world that is more connected and more enriched by connectivity to everything and anything and everybody around you. So hopefully you enjoyed the story. I enjoyed sharing the story very much with you. I very much enjoying my mammoth tooth root. I'm going back to New York in late September, late August, early September for 2 weeks now to only house sit and dog sit while my sister and her daughter and her husband go abroad again for a wedding. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to go back to the Mother Ocean and to see what else she might bring into my magical practice. And who knows, maybe I'll find another mammoth piece. Just Kasia today said the only things like this only happen to you, which is not true. Things like this never happen to me until they do happen, and they happen now. But if you are trying to connect to magic, and if you feel like it hasn't showed up in your life yet, and you feel like things are mundane, don't give up. I cannot tell you how hard I continue to work to break away the filters we have of seeing everything through this wall of this particular reality-based things that we've been told, and relying so heavily on our senses only, and overdeveloping our visual senses and underdeveloping a lot of other senses that we do have. So it's really important for us to hold on to the magic, because I feel like holding on to magic is going to be partially what's going to help us save the humanity, what's going to help us to better ourselves, what's going to help us to step away from this. All of these horrors that are happening is because there's so much collective shadow that has coagulated. It will help us at least to work on ourselves and to withdraw our individual shadow from the collective. And for that, the world is going to be a better place. So share below what have you synchronicities has been, what kind of breadcrumbs you have seen. If you want to do VRR and share your magical story, please do, because we need more stories like this. We need more stories like this. We need more stories of magical things, magical acts, synchronicities. We need more of those. So hopefully you're all having a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.